Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
We're going back to back. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks
Basketball Podcast.
I am your host, Freddie Rivas, and who the devil are you, sir?
I'm the producer, Matt Duncan, in the flesh, in my red shirt and my posture strap. How are you today?
I am doing great. You are indeed my Matty D, and I believe you mentioned the term posture strap.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate?
I bought a posture strap. I was having a lot of back pain a few weeks ago.
Like how the voice went back to normal.
Yeah. Now let's get serious about back health. And I've worked at a computer for many years, so I wanted to. I've been noticing this hunch a lot more now, and I looked up that those posture straps. You're supposed to wear them for a couple hours. It just feels like there's a rope across my back that's like a teacher slapping you on the wrist every time you try to hunch.
I love that. That. I'm in a rocking chair. It's not so much like a teacher smacking, but it does hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get going on some of the stuff we wanted to bring up. We got a very, very fun podcast coming for you. We obviously swept the Brooklyn Nets and have a series, we've been waiting for a very long time. The Raptors versus the Celtics.
Never met in the playoffs, eh?
Never met in the playoffs. And, this whole era, they've been good. We've been better. But we're squaring off, and it's going to be incredible. But, a lot's going on. In general, we were talking about before the podcast, and you were saying the Raptors need the center stage because they're at the center of so many different issues. Yeah. And I wanted to personally apologize for not bringing this up on the last podcast, but the first thing I wanted to talk about is the allegations against our assistant coach Adrian Griffin from his former wife. They're fairly horrible. They are it's very scary. And very serious allegations of assaults, and the Raptors have come out and they said they're going to look into it. Griffin has come out vehemently denying it, but on this podcast we believe women, so we want that kind of to be a clear stance for our listeners. That's where we're coming from, and obviously we're super interested and we want to hold the Raptors to account as far as this being an actual report that's facilitated, and we get to the bottom of what exactly was said, because it's very serious and very scary, and
everything that the Raptors organization has built up and stood for, this cannot be swept under the carpet.
That's right. That's perfectly said, Matt. And that will help us keep our integrity, and it's really important. Secondly, most Raptors fans, I feel like, already knew this before they saw the actual video of Masai being profiled, violently pushed twice, spoken to in a derogatory manner, and also kind of being put under the pressure of the racist system. In the subsequent actions that the Oakland County police or the sheriffs took against Masai, which were, just absolutely appalling. And I think this is a good example of systemic racism at play, right? Because you see a black manager or president of a team at extremely high position get attacked, profiled in front of thousands of people in what was supposed to be the most pivotal point of his professional career. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all know Masai is going to go back to back and three-peat. So the moments will get bigger, but that was the biggest one up until this point. And and it's cool. And we were so excited that Kyle Lowry kind of saved him from that moment. But the fact that he needed to be saved is just awful and disgusting. And I think that, like defund the police. Come on.
Yeah.
This is really obvious. This is really frustrating. I don't even want to get into the character of each individual police officer or this one in particular, because I do think it is a good example of Masai being 100% in the right, accosted, and basically smeared by a professional police department. So this is what people are paying the police to do: smear a black president of a professional basketball organization. So, I mean, I hope everyone who's listening to this is frustrated, saddened, horrified, and angry, because it's just garbage and it's not acceptable. Sorry, Matt.
Sorry. Yeah. I will just say that I'm really disappointed in the ownership of the Golden State Warriors for waiting for till 2 days after the video or something, had to wait for the video to apologize to Masai, and then tried to hide behind the guys that they're not our security team, but we do play in that arena, or we did. That's our old arena. And, making no mention also that, Kyle was assaulted by an owner
who's been reinstated.
Yeah. So it's just, it just kind of shows you the level of systemic racism and how this isn't enough. This is too little, too late. This is not being a good ally by coming out and sending a tweet out saying that, I'm just so sad for him.
That's a fantastic point. And the first thing we jump on in the podcast is the brave and kind of extremely difficult to watch press conference by Fred VanVleet and Norm Powell, because like you were talking about earlier, Matt, the Raptors are at the center of a lot of issues right now. And obviously we're going to cover them. I think let's just jump into the pod. Remember, everyone, write your city councilor. Racism is obviously alive and well, and thriving in some circumstances. So you have to fight that. We each individually have to fight that. This isn't something that will go away quietly or with, just like in writing. Like it's amazing that the players are kneeling and the Black Lives Matters on the court. But please watch Norm's press conference and watch Fred's press conference as well, because they really lay it out quite eloquently. And well, Matt, let's jump into Pod 161. There's a lot of basketball stuff going on. Obviously, anyone looking for the wild Luka stuff, we got that too. Matt, if you feel like we're ready to go, please just give me the okay.
Okay.
Hey, let's bring on guest number one here. We're very excited to have her back. She's amazing. She writes for a bunch of publications and is always in the know with everything Raptors. She's funny, insightful, hilarious. We're always super lucky to have her. Give it up as loud as you can for Katie Heindl.
Oh, a remix. I got a remix this time.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
What's up, Katie? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back, guys.
Oh, no problem.
No problem. That was a double no problem.
I know. No
nice.
problem.
Smooth.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, we're going to get into it, but I feel like it's been a bit of a heavy afternoon, but we can wait to talk about it. But I'm okay.
Cool. Cool and fair. Let's bring on guest number two. He's hilarious. He's one of the best comedians I know. Very good at playing back to the basket in real life. Raising a child in this pandemic. There's a lot going on. Give it up as loud as you can for Ian Gordon.
Oh, that's great.
The funnest song, one of them.
I do enjoy it. You know, it's growing on me for sure. You know?
You also said it tortures you a bit, but
yeah, well, definitely. If I were to say, first emotion is torture, without a doubt.
Yeah. And the second emotion is like, wait a second, the gravitron's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like spinning around and the seat's going up. But then it's kind of like, oh man, I ate a lot of stuff here at the CNE.
Too much cotton candy.
Too many cronuts.
There's honestly so much to talk about. We just have to run full speed into it. Matt, I know you got something for me. If you got a Raptor sting, would you please give it to me? Okay, that's a hot sting if I've ever heard one. Let's get right into the Fred VanVleet press conference. So I just watched back to back the Fred presser and the Norm presser, and we're super lucky to have Katie on the show, who was there covering the press
they're in a Zoom.
They're in a Zoom.
Yeah.
But I mean, for today's times, like that's there.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
I guess I should have asked, were you also covering Norm's?
Yeah, it was just one. So
okay,
it was Fred first, then Norm, then Nick spoke.
Oh, okay. I wasn't able to watch the Nick speak, but I don't want to set you up in the wrong direction or anything, but I feel like we'll be similarly saddened and frustrated. But where are you at listening to Fred speak so candidly?
I mean, it was horrible. I have to say that like one of the things that has kind of clawed at me all day since that happened, and seeing kind of like not all, but quite a large percentage of the media's response who was either like in that room, who covers the Raptors, or who has like seen it secondhand, just this weird response of being like, wow, it's so powerful, so visceral, this stuff. That's the most candid I've ever heard an athlete speak. Like, I feel like there's something very inherently gross about that, because the reason why they're speaking in such a frustrated, really like, honestly, like fearful, like Fred was like up, like extremely out of it when he started talking about it. He got a couple questions at first about the Celtics series, and he was finally just like, I don't want to talk about this. It's like, I'm not really interested in talking about this at all. And then it got to the point where he was super frustrated, like Norm was super shaken up, but like understandably so, because it's like they've been backed into a corner, not just by, you know, virtue of what they have to answer for, but by what's going on in the world. Like this is all just, it's all like indicative of a much larger problem of like systematic violence and oppression that they're being asked to comment on as Black athletes again and again. So to me, if you are a member of the media that has like been in rooms with these guys for years and has like covered the team, and this is the first time something like this has sparked to you, like, oh yeah, I'm seeing them as essentially like a human being, you know, and that you're like, now I see that they're being super honest. And now I like, it's like, what did you see before? And also then I also question, why are you covering basketball? But that's my own gripe.
No, I think it's really fair. And I think, you know, and Ian, this just happened, so you weren't able to see it, but I believe it was Michael Grange asked Fred, you know, how if he can get excited for the Celtics series. He's like, which is a fairly normal, innocuous question, but it's a loaded question when there's been a very public, you know, murder attempt that's on video, and it's so you can feel Fred's shock and frustration, and he actually lobs the question back at Michael Grange. You know, and it's just a classic word salad, right? It's like there's not a lot going on. The questions or the answers very confusing. And it
was bad. It was really bad. It was like he said, like, I feel for everyone, like on all, like not on all sides, but he's like, I feel for everyone involved, I think is what he said. And I think in that moment, like, all Fred was asking, like, he wasn't being like, please give me like a full rundown on like what you're doing. And like what, you know, he was just kind of like wanted a human response, I think. And I think that's one of the things that gets lost in the murk of this, and asking athletes to kind of like comment, Black athletes, especially, right? And like for sound bites and like this kind of angling of like, well, how does it make you feel? Like, how the hell do you think it makes them feel? And I think that's all Fred was asking. He was just like, how do you feel about this? Like, how does it make you feel? And all he had to say was like, I feel really fucked up, or like, this is awful. And I couldn't even imagine like what you are going through. Just something like honest. I don't think he had to really like go on it at the lengths he did, but it was frustrating. And I mean, yeah, I'm glad they spoke, but I don't want to be in like it was painful to watch it. Like it was shitty to see. Like I didn't leave the conference being like, wow, like, you know, I'm so enlightened. I was like really sad and super upset and really angry for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I thought, you know, Grange had an opportunity there to, like you said, answer humanly. And, all I could think was that, you know, racing through his brain is some kind of mix of like, okay, who do I work for? What is an acceptable answer? What would maybe please Fred? What would maybe be like a decent comment for the Black community? And none of what was going through his mind was how he actually felt when he probably watched the video, which you should feel like dismay, horror, shock, anger, you know, at this man being, you know, shot in the back 7 times in front of his family. And, yeah, I think it does kind of like, I'm glad you brought up the human aspect, because it is, you can tell Fred, you know, it's like he's trying to initiate that conversation. And even after that answer, there was a part of me that was like, oh man, I wonder if Fred's going to be like, well, that sucked. But, you know, even his response, his response was like, I know, right? Like his response to Grange was basically like, yeah, I put you on the spot, but this is all so messed up. And I'm here, you know, basically, you know, putting my pain on display for you yet again. And, you know, I get it. Because it's like, how many times are you going to show someone your scars before they believe you were ever cut in the first place? And it's, yeah, you know, it's definitely, I get where Fred's coming from. I talked about on this podcast the corporate aspect of how the NBA co-ops movements and has co-opted movements, and how they bury stories, like whether it's the Luke Walton incident, or, I know I should even correct myself there, because I've heard a lot of good conversation recently about folks who refer to the George Floyd murder as the George Floyd incident. It should not be referred to as an incident, especially if you know what happened. Yeah. And this type of language, these types of barriers, you saw kind of Grange going through like the Rolodex of words that are maybe safe. And it's like, man, I think we're all at a point where we need to put more skin in the game and take bigger risks and be okay with the accountability. Sorry, I feel like I went on a bit of rant there, but I just am so fresh off this and so frustrated and hurt for Fred, hurt for Norm. I think LeBron spoke. I'm hurt for all the players, all of the Black Americans watching this, everyone who I think has felt anything during this movement. This is a reminder that there's just so much ugliness everywhere still. And one of Fred's, I think Blake at the near the end of the presser asked him, what can we do as media besides sharing articles and retweets and saying Black Lives Matter? And that was interesting too, right? Because it's like, hey Fred, how do I do what I do? And there's a bit of an angle there of like, figure that out.
No, I know. I know Blake meant it earnestly, but that's something that I got caught onto, because it's like, I get that you have the chance now to ask him, but if you had the opportunity, that's a thing you could ask in private if you really had an inquiry for him. Because again, you're like you're turning it around, as you said, like again, on a black athlete. I mean, I'm black, like a black man. I don't want to say black. I see this is the thing too. It's like the language around like how you quantify these responses when they're just like humans trying to talk through it.
Totally.
They're just people trying to like talk through and like process pain in real time. But for that, I think like, yeah, that's when, no one else has a responsibility to like tell you what you to do and like what kind of, at the bare minimum, like what you should be doing, right? And that's like educating yourself, like looking at like ways that you can help, whether that's like monetarily or like through other means of like privilege or access, and I think like as journalists and as writers who cover the team, there's been some movement and we're all trying to like post stuff before every game. People are like taking a stab at writing things that they care about just when it comes to causes, whether it's like COVID related or in Canada, we're like obviously doing like indigenous issued call outs and like things around Black Lives Matter. But that is just like, how do we keep that up when it's not at the forefront of a game and people aren't like paying attention? And also like Twitter is such one small, tiny, like insular sect, right, of the world. So like, how do you continue to make good? And I don't think it's up to Fred VanVleet or Norman Powell or anybody else to tell you how to do that.
Yeah. And just back to the Blake thing too. I actually, I wasn't even meaning that to be like a negative thing on his part, but I thought it just kind of like highlighted the example. And Fred actually said, that's a really good question. And I think that's because people aren't really like asking that question. And they're also, if they are, there's a bit of like a facetious quality to it. That's kind of like, what can we do? And like, should we do anything? Do we need to really? And it's a bit like, yes, we all need to. And that was Fred's answer. It was like, I think, those things are good. Kneeling for the anthem is good. Speaking out is good, but also it's going to take everything that all of us have. And that goes beyond our jobs and our publications and what we're on the record for,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But yeah, sorry, Ian, I actually can't even see you right now. So I don't know if this is all new. Did you know anything about this press conference?
No, actually I didn't, but I agree with you and Katie on it. It's, by the sounds of it, when you ask a question like that as a reporter, it's a question, especially the wording and how it's a canned question. That question has been asked. The answer is out there. Figure it out for yourself. There's lots of information. As a professional, if you ask a question like that, that's loaded and canned, if you get caught off guard by an answer that's real and to the heart, then that's what happens when you ask a question like that.
Yeah, and honestly,
these athletes, we hold them to such a high standard, and people love to scrutinize them, and I think that for all these interviews that they have are all canned and. There's this notion that they can't speak their minds in some way. And I think that it's very important for all of them to speak their mind, be fluid in how they feel, and don't hide things like this. I would love to hear more things like that unprompted from athletes. I just think it's a good thing. It's especially and from that perspective, it's a really unique one. You're in a position of power and you've got this unique skill and things are still happening around you. And in particular, these guys are away from their families in this bubble. It's a scary time. LeBron's right. There's terror and fear. And I think that for them, especially to be away from their families, specifically the NBA guys, it must be really, really hard. And I feel for those guys. I really do.
Yeah. And, Fred was talking about people he knows at home that are still suffering from violence. And it's just quite a bit. And I'll say, like, beyond the feelings of frustration and sadness and anger. And I understand the danger of being like, of kind of like looking at it from this lens, but also I am proud I think Fred is so brave and so eloquent, and I don't want to I'm dismayed that he has to be or is in the opportunity to, that is where we're at. But I was, crying and angry, and also like just so amazed by him. He's like 5-6 years younger than me. And I don't know, just like how lucid he was and how descriptive and real he was, it was a profound moment. Like, it was a really, really special moment of an already kind of like special season.
I mean, the only last thing I'll say on it is, like, to Ian's point as well, and your point too, kind of, is that, I haven't covered and been in locker rooms, obviously, for as long as some of these more like tenured writers. But from the time I have spent in there, like, it's not difficult to have a quote, like, candid conversation. Like, they talk honestly, they talk candidly all the time. Like, a lot of the times the answers are as good as the questions being asked of them. And I think we easily get into repetitions because, like, that's what basketball is. Like, it is a lot of repetitions, throughout 4 quarters. So the questions kind of revolve around that. And when you can get off script, and I mean, it's not even off script again, it's just like talking to somebody like a person a little bit, and like taking a little bit more interest in them than their production quote, like on court. Right.
Yeah.
So I think, like, I haven't found it difficult to like speak with players and have them, like, look you in the eye and just like talk to you normally, because that's, if you talk to them like that, it goes a long way. So I think there's something to be said for, like, how we approach our relationships in spheres like that all the time. Right. And not really like trying to angle of like what you can get out of somebody. Right.
Like, am I going to get this soundbite if I provoke this comment?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from like a very larger, like, obvious perspective, we definitely need more Katie's everywhere. Because I think we'd have a lot more meaningful conversation and certainly better questions. But
thanks, bud.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, not in a moving on sense, because I don't want to move on, but I do want to talk about other Raptors stuff that's going on. There's so much. Ian, I'm going to go to you first, and let's just give me something on this franchise first sweep. So a bevy of records were broken. Our bench scored 100 points in the last game. We'll save the Kyle talk for a sec, but yeah, is there a extra sweet moment in this sweep for you?
I don't know. It was nice that it was Brooklyn, because we've had our challenges with them over the years, and they've been a thorn, and we kind of sweep them away. It feels good. But I just love the way they played. I think that having Nick playing so many guys in Game 4 is awesome. I just love seeing that. And I know it was a different kind of game, but in particular, the swagger, the togetherness is really nice to see, because it's going to get harder as things progress. It already will right away. But when Brooklyn kind of gave us their best shot in Game 2, and we held them off and said, no, this is us in 4. It was over after that Game 2. And
I think so.
You do that if you're a Raptors fan, if you're a basketball fan, you watch basketball, you kind of knew. You're like, okay, that was their best shot. We swiped them away pretty effortlessly. And it's a wrap. So to see that and to know that sort of like in your heart after what happened last year, it's a new feeling as a Raptors fan. You kind of previously you'd be like, well, let's see. But now it was just like this notion of like, right. It felt like you in this rocking chair. That's, you know what I mean?
By the way, I'm for those who don't know, I'm in a rocking chair because my usual sitting position hurts my back. Matt thinks it's going to hurt my back even more, but I'll let you know next week. Ian, that was such a perfect answer because, okay, there's a part of me that's not a hardcore Raptors fan that is like, what do you mean? You won game 2 and you know that you won the series? Like, there's a part of me that it's like, I feel like that's how birders talk to each other. It's like when there's a male cardinal about, you can just sense it. Or like, there's kind of this, weird birding joke.
No, you're right though. You kind of knew. It was like, you can tell these things, especially in basketball, when, in particular, when it's like a 1 or an 8 or a 2-7, there's sort of like that one punch that gets thrown. And if it does nothing, that's it. You know what I mean? The armor's off. And it kind of was that after that. And I haven't felt that way with the Raptors team really before.
Me, I've only felt it the other way, which is getting swept by Cleveland or swept by Washington. Yeah, and you can feel when a team you for sure can feel like when a team throws their best punch and they're exhausted. Like I think in that game too, even the third quarter, LeVert looked like he didn't have much left because he was giving it all.
Yeah. And this is the bubble too. You don't have your like home crowd being like, come on. You're just like, well, fuck, we're done.
They can change it. They can edit it around. We need a whole arena of like those like Zoom screens filled with you saying, come on. But it could be bad or good. It's just a motivating sound.
It's right in the middle of bad and good, that sound. Yeah.
Katie, what do you have a sweetest moment from that series?
From the series, I wish I didn't see game 3 live, and I wish I did, because I think that was the most like, just like, I think for me that I didn't have that sense. I knew game 2 was like, obviously the Nets came out. That was the hardest they did come out, but I didn't know then, like you guys did, that they were gonna take it. I guess I still have a little bit of like PTSD. Raptors fans PTSD.
That's also very Raptors fan of you.
Yeah. I liked that I got to see so much of the bench. Like I'm a real big fan of Paul Watson Jr. I'm so glad that awesome. Like Stanley Johnson's finally got his moment in the sun. All it took was like a pandemic and a beat in a bubble, but he's there now.
It's Stanimal time. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And I like that because like, I think, things are going to get harder. And like this sort of, I wouldn't even call them like, for a lot of other teams, like that would be their second, like the deep bench. Cause the bench is essentially like so interchangeable with the starters at this point. So I don't know. I feel like we don't really even have a true bench. So then like the deep bench is almost like, I guess what the true bench would be on another like team. They need a better name. I've been trying to think of something other than like deep bench, but just as those guys get fit more into the rotations and like really contribute, I feel like that was like really sweet to see. And it was sweet to see the moments they did get throughout the series. Yeah. But I have to say, and I know you said we should save it, but maybe this could be like a segue into that. Like what I wanted from this series was like Lowry putting his final curse to like his final playoff curse to sleep, just kind of vanquishing it. And for me, that was the Nets game, like the block shot. So I think I'm a bit sad that he wasn't. I'm glad that the team rallied for him and pulled it off, but like I was not happy in the way that I thought I would be after game 4. I was just like, I was pretty upset actually. And I thought that was very strange.
No, that's fair. Okay. I just want to touch on 2 things you said. One, I just love, you always come in here with amazing descriptors. I love the idea of us having an interchangeable bench, particularly because it's a group of talented people more so than it is, they're really good. And then they have a bench mob. And it's like, not exactly actually, because it's more of a larger system. And I don't think the Raptors are the only team that's like that this year. I feel like, Boston has some of that. Some other teams have some of that. He plays
different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ian is also aggressively agreeing with you because it's a hot point, but no, but let's go. Oh God, I'm a nerd, eh? No, in regards to Kyle Lowry, it was a saddening. That's why I left it, because I wanted to just take the joy from the Brooklyn series, because here we are. Kyle has turned his ankle. First it was his arch, now it's the sprained ankle.
First it was his ankle, then it was his arch, and then I saw so many damn podiatrists
I know
on like Twitter, like getting in people's feeds, just being like, for my from what they've said, like I'm quite worried about this. Like the arch is much more complex than you would figure it. It's like, get out of here, podiatrists. Get out of here.
I love when the people are like, I'm not a doctor, but I will speculate a bit. And then there's the people who are like, I am a doctor.
I'm literally
Check
a foot
this
doctor.
out. But they're also kind of speculating, and it's like, this is wild. Twitter's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way I wanted to phrase this question is, I don't think we'll have an exact answer to this Kyle Lowry scenario. I'm sure they don't want Stevens and Ainge and co to know the state of Kyle's health, so we probably won't know either. But for all the people out there worrying about Kyle Lowry, Katie, what can you tell the Torontonians out there who are thinking, who are dismayed or sad or worried?
Well, I mean, first, remember that he played through last season's playoffs with like his thumb basically falling off.
Yes.
And like wearing an actual oven mitt around when he wasn't playing basketball just to get through it. So, I mean, he's super tough. He is super resilient.
The oven mitt part is insane.
He needs to just get, I think I was trying to think of like talking to some people of what the equivalent of that could be for his foot, but it's Uggs. So he's got to get some Uggs stat to wear around in the bubble.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess just like, don't forget how tough he is. And like, I think that's what was maybe for me so worrying when he did leave, because we've seen him just like,
yes,
I was like, oh shit, like it's got to be really bad if he fouled somebody so he could get off court and like then just quickly left, like didn't even wait. So that I was worried about that at first. I can't say that didn't alarm me, but from what I've heard, I know he was practicing today.
Wow.
There was some.
That's encouraging.
The bubble is funny because like you have journalists who are just like, I saw Kyle Lowry walking and he wasn't limping. It's like, is this news? Like, could we credit this in a story? Not really. It's just
Works
like observation. Yeah. But there you go. That's what I heard. He was walking around. He wasn't walking with a limp. So yeah,
that checks out as news on COD. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to play. Will he play in game 1? He could. I don't think he'll play a lot. That's fine. Yeah. That's what we want. But I also think, look at what this team has been able to pull off all season with like injury after injury after injury. And you've said essentially now, like knock on wood, you've got everybody else is healthy. And Lowry, even if he's got to take it easy a little bit to start, that's okay. Like they did very well with a lot worse.
Yes. My message is similarly that like Kyle is going to be okay and has been passing the torch for a very long time already. Mm-hmm. So this is just another part of that. Ian, what would your message to Torontonians who are just running wild on the DVP, worrying about Kyle Lowry screaming at the DVP, the road itself? What's your message to them about Kyle Lowry?
First thing I would say is between Don Mills and Eglinton, take a look in the median for hedgehogs and gophers, and people throw them apples, and there's apple cores that they eat. And I swear to God,
I believe you.
Have a look. That's what I would say. Calm yourself by observing a wild DVP hedgehog.
It would be beautiful, gopher. Probably a hedgehog.
Oh yeah, I mean they're unperturbed,
right?
Except of course for all the fumes. But mainly I would agree with Katie in your opinion on his resiliency. He's a tough guy. I'd be worried if this was TJ Ford. I'd be worried if it was Russell Westbrook maybe, or like maybe a big man, but he's tough, man. He's he's bulldog. He's a leader. He'll be out there. Whether he doesn't play game 1 or 2, it's hard to say. I agree with Katie. I think he'll probably play a little bit in game 1. Mm-hmm. Obviously depends on the flow of the game. But the other thing, of course, too, is that Nick Nurse is good with lineups. So maybe this will give him an opportunity. You want your captain out there. It's his team, but maybe he'll be able to fiddle with lineups a bit and find a little, sort of like wedge in Boston's armor in some way by playing a lineup that he wouldn't have played if Lowry was in the game. We have a lot of stuff to throw at them, whether it's going big or small or a combination of both. So it'll be interesting to see what they do rotation wise without him. So I'm not, the Celtics are a good team. They're well coached. I'm not chilling, but I'm not freaking out.
Ooh, okay. This is a perfect transition because we're all in the same place. I think Kyle is going to ease his way back in. Hopefully it's it's that level of serious. And for anyone who's ever listened to this podcast, they know that I have a deep hatred for the Boston Celtics, and not for Brad Stevens, the man, more so the figure, and which really got going when I think it was Bill Simmons asked, "Would you rather have Giannis Antetokounmpo or Brad Stevens?" And that's when I just lost it, and Stevens became a symbol for me of people caring too much about systems and coaching and not really appreciating that the players are what's extra special, not the coaches. But here we are. So you just kind of went right into it, Ian. We got COY, by the way. Congratulations to Coach of the Year Nick Nurse versus Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics. I think I'm not going to go on the record and say this, but if we do lose to the Celtics, I need to go on a year-long vacation and think. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do. It won't be good for me. I've been confident for a long time against Boston. I don't want to say my confidence is shaken, but I respect how good they are, and I've watched all of their games in the bubble and against Philly, and I know, whatever Philly, but I think Boston's an excellent team that with great coaching and high IQ everywhere and good everything. So wait, that's a giant ramble from me, but Ian, just sticking with you. Yeah. Who is the thicker binder between Nurse and Stevens? What are you, any wild tricks you're expecting?
I don't know. I think there'll be a lot of chess match stuff like lineups and things like that and interesting timeouts and everything else. But I don't know. I think maybe Stevens has a bigger binder in terms of his actual plays that he runs. But, and you might be able to give him the tic-tac-toe card, perhaps. Not that Nurse is not skilled at that. He runs amazing plays too. But I think that Nurse has kind of the more intrinsic coaching value that Stevens has a bit. But the best coaches have is the sort of the player coach. You've got your guys playing for you as well. You see that in Popovich and, Phil Jackson, especially in that documentary. They love the guy, you know what I mean? They're going to bat for him and he goes to bat for them. And that, I'm sure Stevens has a great rapport with his players. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I think Nurse is kind of he specializes in that innately. He seems to be very good with that. And, it's weird to think something like that would get you over the hump because the NBA is so weird. It could come down to, a shot clinking the wrong way. So then the series will be close. They're two good teams. I think we probably are a bit deeper if I'm looking at their roster. I'm biased, but I like ours better. Our bench trench, you know what I mean? We're there and we've got guys in particular down the rotation that have played a lot. So they're not going to come into the playoffs with shaky knees. They're ready to go. So I think, I don't know. I would say that binder wise, Stevens is better, but you can't put in a binder what Nick Nurse kind of has.
I am only picturing you viewed this question as Stevens has a binder and it's just ones and O's and X's and zeros, and right. Nurse has a binder and it's love is the meaning of life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? A picture of a guitar,
stickers and stuff like that. He's got a collage and a vision board and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think you're majorly right. And a concept that I've been kind of fixated on for a little while is this relationship between a superstar and a coach, and how the most special championship environments always have that relationship, or usually have that relationship. even if it's like you do your thing, Kawhi, I'll do my thing, coach the team, Nurse type of atmosphere. I think like that relationship is very important to winning at the highest levels in the NBA. Yeah, Katie, what are you expecting? Some Point Boucher or is Matt Thomas going to start? Like,
I mean, I think binder wise, Nick doesn't actually have one. I think it all lives in his head and in his feelings, which I like.
So he's like a mind palace binder.
Yeah, he's got like a gut binder, like a heart binder, a brain binder. And I think he uses those all interchangeably. Mm-hmm. I think like one thing I like about Nurse obviously is like how, like again, to go back to just like all the injuries and upsets that the team went through this year, how more intuitive it kind of made him and them. And that one thing I really liked this season when we could still go and cover games was a lot of the times when Nurse would get asked about like certain rotations or why he tried something or like why it worked, he'd just kind of be like, I don't know, like I wanted to do this. And then one of the guys suggested we do this. And then they just tried it and they just made it work. So like, he's very much like, I thought of something, but then it's like a two-way street. And like there is that level of like confidence and trust. And I think like the team knows him very well and like his schemes very well. And they can like be super improvisational. I can't say that word lately. This is the second time I've stumbled on it in like,
it's a long weeks.
Improv. This is tough. I'm not going to do it. It's late in the day. Anyway, but the fact that they feel like confident and like free to be able to do that, I think is a factor that you can't really take away from the team. It's obviously more of an intangible, but I don't know.
It's big though. You see Fred and Nick and Kyle having these discussions all the time. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, I don't know Boston as closely in terms of like what they talk about, like, behind the scenes. They obviously have some extremely deep and like, it's unfortunate to me how much I like most of Boston's players. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. No, I like the players too. Yeah, honestly.
Agree.
Yeah, they're very like, I like so many of those guys except for Tice. He's an evil guy. And I don't like Brad Stevens. I feel like he's a weird child coach. He always looks like he's having a temper tantrum. Something about the shirts they wear in the bubble makes his eyes look even more demonic, which I don't like at all. So I don't like watching him coach because when he gets stressed, he just kind of stares and like silently fumes and then occasionally screams. But
it's like, are you putting the audience in your doghouse?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
But yeah, I don't know. I think I'd say we're in better shape just based on what the team had to go through this year to like throw some weird stuff out when we need to and like not get too stubborn and not get too stuck when plays don't work, because there's going to be a lot of shit they dream up that's just like going to fall super flat too. That's what happens as well in playoff series.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think both teams will be good at that. But I think that is a Nick Nurse advantage is it's like this embracing of failure. It's kind of like, oh yeah, we tried all this stuff, didn't work. Oh, well, let's try this next thing. And it's kind of, there's this idea of like, we will figure it out. And we all work together and trust in each other. And one thing I was going to say, just kind of, I feel like you guys covered this question perfectly, but until he cools down, I think if Fred is playing with the point guard, that's one thing. I think if he gets to play with someone who's 6'5" or 6'6", like Norm, we might be able to see like the full unleashed Steph Curry version of Fred VanVleet, because I think him with, again, Lowry is an incredible like player to be on the court with, and obviously is better than Norm Powell. But there's something about being the point guard and having the four other people as your weapons on the court that I think certain people can take them to a higher level. And I think Fred, I think he has more levels. But if you're all feeling good, I think let's move on to the NBA.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, Maddie, give me that NBA sting.
National Basketball Association.
Oh, I got the point from Matt. That was cool. Well,
did you hear it?
I just knew. I didn't hear it, but I got the point, which felt It felt like I heard it in my bones. Let's just hit up some quick NBA stuff, and we'll finish off some quickish questions. But did you watch the Clippers? By the time people listen to this, there will be a game 5. So maybe Luka's going to do something even more insane. But what are you thinking about this Mavs Clippers series? Like, it was the series that I was the most excited for. I kind of thought Luka would get beat up pretty good. Not like beat up. I mean, I just thought that, Kawhi, PG, a team full of vets. I just thought he was going to have a hard time. I didn't think that he was going to be like, I'm better than all of you. Which we'll see how the series ends. But Luka, what do you think?
I like Luka a lot. He's kind of come alive in a different way in the playoffs. But I have to be honest, this was one series that I found like super boring at first, and I did not get invested in. I liked the Mavs too, so I didn't really know why, but I didn't feel like it had the kind of spark that a lot of these other early games did. And when there's basketball on, like for 24 hours a day, it feels like you can sometimes got to pick and choose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that game was phenomenal. I think they're just focused. Like, what did Luka say? He was just like, I told you guys, like, there's no point in playing if you don't believe that like you can win and you can do it. And we always like believe that we could do it. And I think there's something, I know that's kind of corny, but I think there's something to be said for like cohesiveness in that sense. And just like believing that you can pull out a wild, like, check like across the court, like a heave, and just like land it. And that the Clippers just look so sad.
Yeah, it's weird.
Bummed out.
The Clippers thing, I feel like, again, anyone who's been listening to this podcast for the year knows that I've been taking like every little dig I can at the Clippers. And it's a little less satisfying. Like, I knew that they weren't Kawhi plus the Raptors. Like, I knew that. And I think that I can see that now. But it's less fulfilling than I thought it might be, that their parts aren't like ours. Like, yeah, it's not. And again, maybe they just take off and I'm wrong. And Lou Williams and Beverly are better parts than Fred and Kyle, but I don't think they are. Ian, where are you at with, I guess, this series and Luka? Are you super impressed? Is he going to slow down? What do you think?
Very impressed. I think, it's funny. You're just slagging on the Clippers, and you wouldn't have said any of those things if he didn't hit that crazy shot, because it would have been 3-1.
Right. So that's true. Good point.
I still think they would have looked depressed.
Oh no, yeah, they would have looked depressed for sure. They do look strangely unhappy.
Yeah.
I think perhaps maybe it really is nice living in LA for them. I don't know. Being in Orlando in a bubble sucks. But I'm very impressed with Luka. He's 21 years old. I can't remember the last 21-year-old player who's done anything like this other than the guy named LeBron. He's definitely the best offensive player in the league under 25 for sure. You can make a case that he's already the best offensive player in the entire NBA at 21 years old. It just based on the statistics that he put up throughout the year, the huge triple doubles, but also the fact that traditionally in the NBA, young players in their first go round of the playoffs, now this is the bubble and things are different, they tend to wilt.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of, I wasn't,
sorry. Young man, and he's not wilting. And remember, if you call on his resume, was he the MVP of the EuroLeague at like 17 years old?
If you go on his like Wikipedia and look at all his accolades, it's crazy. Like, I mean, because he started playing competitively in like high school, so he's got. It's just like crazy.
He's unbelievable. Yeah. He's a stud. He will be the best player in the league for probably a good chunk of years, unless there's a crazy other player that comes. But I mean, it's going to be the young players in the league now are really, really good. And I think he's the top of them. He's also fortunate to play on the Mavs. I think that's the perfect franchise for him to go to. He could have gone to the Kings. He should have gone there. He was on the Hawks. And both of those particular franchises are notoriously, bad with nurturing stars, young stars. And so Vlade Divac is a complete moron for not picking this guy. And even if Bagley becomes a great player, which he might do, Luka is an absolute generational superstar.
So you think Luka's better than Bagley? Are you going to say that on the record, or?
I'm putting it out there.
Okay, wait. Last question
That's
here.
my stamp, my lock.
Yeah, you know what? You got to live with that. Sorry, dude. And guess what? I'm gonna say right here, Marvin Bagley is better than Luka. Okay, no.
Hey man, Bagley could be a 2010 guy. Very possible.
Oh, for sure. Okay, my last question. I'll stick with you, Ian, and then we'll go to Katie before Quickish Questions. But yeah, do you have a surprise playoff team? I guess it could be bad too.
Yeah,
thinking
both
good.
Actually, I have the series. They're playing one another. I think that Utah and Denver have been a surprise. I think Utah, on the good side of things, they did. I mean, Mitchell. Did he lose that? He lost the game that they lost with 61. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I think it was 59.
Yeah. So their team is unbelievable. Like I thought more of Denver in particular last year and everything. I thought they would. I don't know about the Joker, but anyway, the Denver surprised me because they've played poorly, and Utah surprised me because I knew they had a good team, but I didn't think they would play this well, in particular against Denver as an opponent.
Yeah, my answer is also Utah because they're, Utah kind of generally has like I don't want to say boring, but it's a very specific style of play. And the first game I watched from them, it's like they're not playing the same way at all. They're playing way faster, and Gobert is doing all sorts of stuff that he wasn't doing before. And watching Mark come to the Raptors and fit in and, help bring us to a championship, I kind of wanted the same thing for Conley in the West, and for him to struggle for most of the season. And people start to think like, oh, wait a second, maybe is the team better if Ingles is in the lineup? And, maybe they are. But yeah, for him to come in and just like not miss any shots, I've kind of been happy for him. And Utah, they haven't been a surprise to me. Katie, do you have a surprise team? Yeah.
Well, I have a surprise series. My surprise series that I'm like all in on and didn't anticipate being on is OKC and Houston. That's become like extremely fun.
Yeah, it's a good.
Mostly because I'm rooting for OKC, and it's like,
is it because of Lou Dort?
It is, yeah. Dort's incredible, but it's also like, in what world am I like? Chris Paul is the good guy, and like not the
I know. Yeah, Chris Paul is like he got like I feel like Scrooge came to his door and it's like you got to be nice to other players, and they brought him to OKC.
Scrooge doesn't even do that in the story.
Oh yeah,
do that. That's okay. Okay. Yeah, they do that to Scrooge. He's Scrooge in this.
I don't know anything about Scrooge or ghosts.
That's okay. But my biggest surprise, and I guess like this, I don't even mean this. Maybe I can mean it half dig, half surprise. But I'm surprised that the Lakers are as good as they are.
Yeah, they're
I'm actually kind of surprised at that. I didn't know if I was 100% in on like the Blazers taking that series, but I thought it would be a lot more competitive. It sucks that Dame is potentially hurt right now.
Yeah.
But I was kind of just like, throughout the first round, it's like, all right, when your like backups are like Dion Waiters, like J.R. Smith, Rondo, who's not playing, but like, when these are your options for like depth, that doesn't strike me as very. I know you have Anthony Davis. I know you have LeBron James, but I was also like, can LeBron like throw a whole team on his back for a whole series anymore? I'm not sure, but I guess like he did this time. So I'm still a bit shocked at that.
Yeah, LeBron definitely does seem to have this thing where he can like in a series, he can take a punch and then be like, oh, okay, I figured this team out.
Yeah.
He's kind of really good at doing that. But I was one of those people, my friend was like, I don't know, Portland, Andrew, if you're listening, was like, oh, Portland, they might beat LA. And I'm like, dude, LA is going to smash Portland. And then as soon as the game one happened, I actually messaged him and I was like, how dare I? I was wrong. You were right. And I got,
but they did. They frustrated them, like, and they did it very well. So that's why I was surprised, like, they couldn't keep it up. Obviously, the Lakers adjusted, but it doesn't seem like it takes, like a lot of these guys, like, it doesn't take a lot to get under Dwight Howard's skin. LeBron gets frustrated very easily. The difference is he will come back and just like destroy you in the way that he can.
No, it's a good point though. They were rattled.
Yeah, they can get rattled. So I think in the next round, if they have a team that can consistently rattle them, they won't go as far as anticipated. I also just like they hadn't, when they said like, oh, they haven't won. That was the first playoff series they'd won since like 2012.
The Lakers?
Yeah. Oh wait, they're in their first series. Their first win in the bubble was the first win they've had on the postseason since 2012, which was shocking to me because the narrative around the Lakers is just like, we've always been successful.
Yeah. And I guess the last playoffs they were in, they were probably swept. It was probably one of Kobe's last series. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love that. And I think that's the main, I would probably have a lot of animosity towards the Lakers fans and the Lakers in general if they weren't, for most of my like obsessive basketball watching, like there was the Kobe Shaq era and the Kobe Gasol era, but then it was, it was pretty clear that Kobe was going to tank the franchise for a long time. and that's what happened. And it was bad. And I was kind of like, okay, I think LA is so bad that it's hard to dislike them. Kind of like the Knicks. Like I would probably have a lot of animosity towards the Knicks, but it's been rough. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whereas Boston, they're kind of all, I feel like they've never had to be super bad,
Lakers are interesting just because of they're good now. They've got the number 1 seed in the West and they are a weird team. On their bench doesn't look that hot, but somehow they win games. But if you think about all the players they've gotten rid of. I mean, they got rid of Ingram and D'Angelo, and these guys are like Magic Johnson. What are you doing? You've turned it around.
You were saying they got rid of Magic Johnson too.
But like they should. I mean, him pulling the trigger on some of these deals, in particular. I mean, I know that Russell had that snafu where he recorded. I think it was Swaggy P or something, but he was, it's almost too good of a player to let him walk. And they're always, this is the thing about them. They always come around. They're like the friggin' Yankees. They're just sort of like, no matter what's going to happen, they're going to go there. People want to play there. And that's just kind of how it is to be a Laker fan.
Well, we'll see him in the finals. And the Carew show will not be happening. That's a guarantee.
That would be an interesting final. That's for sure.
It would be cool. Okay. Are you both ready to wrap this up with some quickish questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Maddie, if you got a quickish question sting, would you give it to me?
Quickish question.
I always feel so cool doing that. Okay. You all know how Quickish Questions works. I'm going to slur, stumble, get confused through some of the questions I've already read before. That's okay. You have to answer still as fast as possible. You can't think out loud. You can't phone a friend. No stalling. Matt, I'm looking at you. Yeah, no stalling whatsoever. I want quick answers. Okay. The segment's called Quickish Questions. Not at all the case. It's quick answers. Okay. Let's do Katie, Ian, Matt. Are we all ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go.
Yep.
Katie, biggest bench threat from Boston. Who is it and who can stop it?
Taco.
Taco himself.
No one.
No one. Okay, a Taco and honestly no one. Like if he comes in, we lose. That's what's up. Ian, Toronto versus Boston. What was the better TV series, Degrassi or Boston Public?
I would have to say Degrassi just because it's filmed in East Toronto and that's where I grew up. And you know what I mean? Boston Public's got Shatner, I think. Was it Shatner? And he's got that
That's Boston Legal
of Rocket Man where I think he's on. Anyway. Isn't that the minute he does he's like on Quaaludes anyway? But
Boston Legal,
Degrassi.
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it was just a classic Degrassi. It's all we need.
What was the other one? Boston Public?
Boston
There's
Public
more than
was
one
different.
Boston
Yeah.
show?
Yeah, Boston Legal was
Oh, great.
Oh, wow.
a different show. You know, that was a David
Well,
E. Kelly.
I can't keep track of all these
Okay, Matt.
Boston-based shows.
What are Mark's strengths and weaknesses versus Boston?
I would say his strengths are definitely that 3-pointer.
Yeah.
I love getting a couple of those in a game. But I think I feel like he's gonna fall into some foul trouble. Am I wrong? Is he gonna?
I'm nervous about it.
Yeah.
Katie. You know what? This isn't fair because it's just not a question. Just a statement to everyone. Not so much a question, but fuck Boston. But then
Fucking
there's a
Boston.
question for Katie. How many slices of bread will we get out after the series? That's a joke on Brad's name. Some folks call him Bread Stevens. I am one of those. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but
Like if you sliced him?
I guess just basically what this
If you
question is.
sliced the man, how many slices of bread? Like if he
Oh,
was
that-
a loaf of bread, how many slices would you get out of
Actually,
it?
that's a fun hypothetical. Yeah.
Not a great question if I've got to, like figure out what it
Yeah.
means, but that's okay. Yeah, I would picture like a bread I hate. I figure like a caraway rye, some kind of crummy bread. Like
Yeah.
that's what I figure he would be. And you'd probably get those like maybe about 14, and then they would all fall apart.
Oh, that's a perfect answer because it's so gross. You hear that, Brad?
Gross.
We're
bread
so
man.
sorry. We're so sorry. We're so obsessed with you, and it's weird.
I'm so
Ian,
sorry we sliced you up like bread.
okay, here we go. There's more of this. You're gonna like this, Ian. Ian, Toronto versus Boston, round 2. Pizza or Boston pizza?
Oh man. Well, I mean, again, I want to go local pizza. If it was back in the day when I used to play t-ball, I would go pizza for sure. But Boston Pizza also used to have this. They used to have this pizza where you could get a pierogi on it, which I kind of used to like.
Great.
But I'm going pizza because they invented dipping sauce. I feel. Remember when it used to come and it had the little press down like circle in the box, and it used to be free. They used to come with the pizza.
Yeah.
And then after a year, they were like, by the way, it's 50 cents. You're like, what the fuck?
It's not okay.
Yeah, that wasn't cool. But
Matt,
still, I'm going with them.
Yeah.
What will be the hottest, worst take from U.S. media before this series starts?
Oh boy, hottest worst take. Probably them saying, Boston in something. Boston, like if it's like a Boston in 5, a gentleman's sweep by Boston expected. Something like that.
Yeah, that's deserving of a
They
punch
don't
in the
have
nose.
Kawhi. They don't have this. It's going to be that
There's a lot
crap.
of bad takes coming our way for sure.
Yeah.
Katie, if you have to pick one former Raptor in prime form and one current Raptor to team up to play 2-on-2 basketball against the Celtics, which 2 Raptors will you pick? Also, who do you think will? What's your Celtics pick?
PJ Tucker and Kyle Lowry.
Love it.
And then honestly, anyone. I mean, I want to say like Enos Cantor and like, I don't know, and Daniel Tice. There you go.
Love it. Ian,
Mm-hmm.
after Bill Russell drafted Kenny Smith in 1987, Bill asked Kenny to sit next to him on the team bus and on the plane. When Kenny asked Bill why he had to sit next to him, Bill replied, because that guy's a loser, that guy's a loser, that guy's a loser, and I don't want you sitting with them. Which 3 members of the present day Boston Celtics was Bill Russell calling a loser?
Oh man, interesting question. I'm going to say Tice for sure because he's definitely a loser.
He is a loser.
He's such a loser. He just looks like a turd. You know what I mean?
He's probably such a nice person.
No, screw him. And then definitely Marcus Smart for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Total jerk off. And Morris probably.
No, Morris is.
Or no,
No,
sorry,
there's
not
no
Morris.
more. There's no more Morai on that team.
Thank God. I'm sorry. I forgot that he wasn't on. I've been cursed by him for years, that guy. And there's two of them, too.
Yeah, the Morai twins.
You know what? Even though I don't believe it, I'm going Taco.
Okay. Matt, Marcus Smart shot 41% from 2 this year. Are his hands made of potatoes? That's the question.
Potatoes?
Yep. Are Marcus Smart's hands made of potatoes?
No. They're made of beets.
Okay, great answer. Katie, Taco Fall wears number 99. Who's better, him or Gretzky? Would he start for the Clippers? Taco. I agree. Taco is better than Gretzky. Hands down. Ian, if the Raptors score over 100 points in a victory, the fans get free McDonald's fries. Finish the sentence. If, hypothetically, Boston scores over 100 points, those fans get...
hot piping bowl of clam chowder.
New England clam chowder.
How about no bowl? It's like, you want the clam
how about
chowder?
this? It's served in old newspaper like fish and chips. Here you go. Here's a crumbled up newspaper full of clam chowder.
This is good. This is why we bring Ian on, honestly. Clam chowder and newspaper? That's good stuff. Okay, Matt.
Yes.
It's a nice last question for you. It's an important one. Should Kyle sit out to be safe game 1 and or 2?
Well, I will say that I read that Alvin Williams said that he's 99.9% sure that Kyle will be playing in game 1. And I think that he should... I think he should be a hidden bench player in game 1. Really fuck with the Celtics.
Oh, like he's like the 10th
In
man?
disguise?
Yeah. 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 He's wearing a mask. He rips it off.
Who is this person? How did they get in the bubble? Let's wait on this. It might be Gene Parmesan. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, okay. That's the pod. Thank you. This has been a fun time. A heavy day, but a really fun episode. Katie, I'll go to you first. You got a lot going on. You're writing for so many different things. You're doing podcasts. This is going to come out on the 26th. So knowing that, what's up? Is there anything out there you want people to know about?
You can listen to and subscribe to, if you don't already, Dishes and Dimes, an all-women NBA podcast that I'm a co-host of. I've been another basketball with Sean Woodley. That's out every Thursday. If this podcast didn't fulfill your podcast quota for the week, I have a feature coming out on. You know what? I'm going to save this one, but it's a feature on a Raptor I'm very excited about for a place I've never written for before. So just keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yeah, listener, follow Katie, read all of her work. She's incredible, and she'll be the person in the press conference asking the really meaningful questions. So help her out. Ian, are you doing shows again? What's going on? This is weird. I'm sorry. I'm so used to my usual pandemic thing of like, I hope you're okay. Even if you're not performing. But I actually realized you might be performing again.
I will be doing some going forward. I'm slowly getting back into them. I was just trying to be extra cautious with little baby, but outdoor venues and things like that, seemingly, I'm fairly confident. I've been feeling a lot better pandemic-wise recently anyway. I'm thankful that we live in Ontario and we have sensible bylaws of having masks indoors and, not to get into that kind of thing, but I'm just feeling a little bit better about it and hoping to do more shows going forward and hopefully things, I don't want to say get back to normal because we need to change stuff for the better, but hopefully venues open up again and I can do more shows, put it that way.
Yeah, totally. I did a friend of the show, Dan Gallia, is a wonderful producer. He works with Toronto City Adventures a lot, and he did a Humber or Comedy on the River. So people actually kayak up to you and you tell jokes. It was weird and odd, but I felt so alive. I don't even know how to describe it. And people were like laughing and drifting by, and I'm like, I don't care. Thank you.
Did you say laughing like rafting and laughing?
Yeah.
Like laughing? Yeah, it did say laughing.
Laughing.
Sorry, that's a good catch.
No, I liked that.
Laughing. No, that was just that's a Happy Freddy slur right there. That's an accident. But yeah, that's it. Thanks so much, everyone who listens to this podcast. Make sure to share, subscribe, email your city councilor, defund the police. Matt, that's it for the pod. If you think we're good to go.
Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network. Sonar!